Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of static timing analysis. In last episodes, we have talked about the directed acyclic graph, which deals with the AT and RAT. In this episode, we will discuss about various delays which affect these AT-RAT check in actual circuit. So here goes our menu for today. First, we talk about STA delays. Next, we will talk about propagation path delay. We will explore physical path delay. We will talk about pre-layout net delay calculation. We will talk about designer defined delay. We will talk about post layout net delay. Next, we will talk about cell delay calculation. Next, we will discuss rise and fall slew concept and example from .lib file. So this is the menu for today. Let's begin without any further delay. STA delays. So let us get familiar with the delays in STA. In static timing analysis, STA, static delays such as gate delay and net delays are considered. In each path, these delays are compared against their required RAT, maximum and minimum values. The actual path delay is the sum of the net delay and the cell delay along with the timing path. Don't worry, we'll explore these things in subsequent slides. Net delay is the total time for charging or discharging all the parasitics. It is a function of parasitic R and C or coupling capacitor. Next, cell delay is the delay arc corresponding to the input and output ports of the cell. It is the function of slew, load, and process parameters. Wire load models, WLM, are fetched from the technology file. We are done with this particular slide, the introduction to the all STA delays and their different kinds. In subsequent slides, we will explore them one by one. Propagation path delay. In this slide, we will discuss graphically the basics of delay calculation. In any and every type of delay are defined or measured using this method at the bottom. Then they are put into some text format to feed the STA engine. So let me bring up the graphics. So here goes our graphics. This is input waveform, this is output waveform, and this is a 50% cut. This is the 50% cut. This is TF and this is TR. Here you can see that there are two waveforms. The above one is input waveform, which is generally called the reference waveform. The below one, which can be output of a logic gate or an IP or simply a design block. Whatever it is, the delay is measured on it. We can see in both the cases that there is a horizontal dotted line. See, this is the horizontal dotted line which cuts the waveform at 50% height. So if I consider this is the height from here to here, it cuts at the 50%. In both cases, it is the same. The y-axis, that means in this direction, is the voltage, and in the x direction, this is the x direction. X-axis is horizontal direction, is time. So we have voltage in this direction and time in this direction. So when we drop a perpendicular line from these cut points, say this is a cut point and we are dropping the line here in the x-axis, we get intersection points. So these are intersection points 1, 2, 3, 4. As I have mentioned earlier that the delay is calculated at the output waveform, hence this is called the fall time delay. So you can see here is the first cut and the second cut is dropped in the x-axis. We can measure it because due to the circuit operation, this waveform has just flipped vertically, and we are considering the 50% of this point and 50% of this point and dropping on the time axis so that we can measure the time shift. So this is called the fall time delay. And similarly, if we drop here at the x-axis and again here we drop, so here it is also got flipped, but from 50% to the 50% we are measuring here, and this is called the rise time delay. Now you may be wondering why we need both. In general, the slope of the rising and the falling edges are not same for a single waveform. due to the design or the presence of the parasitic resistor, capacitor or coupling capacitor. So guys, here I have drawn the picture very much identical in real circuitry, these two slopes. So that means this slope and this slope will be different, and again this, when it passes through a block, this slope and this slope also will be different. So expect this thing in real cases. So we are done with this particular slide, so let's move on. Physical path delay. In this slide we will zoom into the delay a bit further to understand from where physically it is coming from. Here is our total delay. It can be divided into two parts. One is the net delay. Net means the interconnects which connect all the logic gates in the circuit. And the cell delay. Cell delay means the logic gates. They have their intrinsic delays. The net delay is caused by the interconnecting net or metal or via routing at the layout level. It can be subdivided by the delay caused by the individual existence of a capacitor or coupling capacitor and a resistor or a resistor. That means both can be there. So P and R or C or R, all these combinations are possible for the net delay. The cell delay comes from the physical standard cells which have a circuit component as well as the metal 1 and metal 2 routing in each. So these cells are pre-characterized by the Liberty characterization tool to calculate input slew, output load, for various PVT corners. The cell delay varies from one type of the cell to another type of the cell. Also for the same cell, it varies when we change the cell height. As an example, I can say 60, 70, 90 and 12T. Here T means the metal track width. So when you deal with the standard cell, you come to know about the cell height, which is measured in terms of track. So these are different track and height. So even a single cell is there, it's all the delay values for it will be different for different track, and these cells are also packaged in different files. So the all possible permutation and combination of the cell height, process, temperature and operating voltage, etc. gives birth to a huge amount of data mining, which is captured into the .lib file for any standard cell library. So guys, I think we have talked enough on this slide. So let's move on to the next slide. Pre-layout net delay calculation. Before reaching to the layout, verification is done at the front end. Here, the designer needs to define the delay to check the AT versus RAT at even synthesis stage. The designer defined or hand calculated delay is called the wear load model. In this slide, we will talk about this. Wear load model. The net length is a function of the net fan out and chip area. So fan out, you know how many output it can drive, and the chip area is the physical area. For a given area, averages of R and C are estimated for different fan out. Then net delay is calculated simply as the product of R and C. So this is how the wear load model is generated. Now let us look into an example here. Let me bring my mouse pointer. Here I have given fan out in the first column, P value in the second column, R value in the third, and finally the product, that is the wear load model, is in the fourth column. So delay is equal to R multiplied by C. So if the fan out is 1, we have the C value is 0.015 and the R value comes as 0.012. Now the wear load model predicts the delay as 0.00018. If you multiply these two things, and you will get this result. Similarly, if the fan out is 2, the C value is 0.030, R value is 0.016. If you multiply them, this result, that is 0.00048, will come. So this is the delay in this case. The third case, here the fan out is 3. The C value is estimated as 0.046. The R value is here the 0.020. Now if we multiply these two, the outcome is 0.00092. So this is the wear load delay modeling. So I have given the theoretical as well as an example to understand the wear load model. So we are done with this particular slide. Let's move on. Designer defined delay. In last slide, we have talked about the wear load model. Now let us see how and where a designer can put these delays to feed them into the STA engine. So designer defined delay, here it can be fed into first the design constraint file, second in the SDF file. We have already talked about the all input outputs in STA, and there I have touch base these two files as the input. Here these two are text file, and the designer can include his defined delay into these two files. So manually these can be entered also. We will have a series coming up next after this particular STA series, which is currently going on, where we will deep dive into the technical details of these files formats used in STA analysis. So stay tuned, stay focused. We are done with this particular slide. Let's move on. Post layout, net delay, RC back annotation. So far we have talked about all the pre-layout delays. In this slide, we will enter into the junction point where the front end meets back end. Through infographics, we will explain how designer designed netlist catches the cough and cold of parasitic RC when its layout is realized. So here we go. This is our pre-layout circuit. When we realize the post layout circuit after the layout and we extract the SPF, DSPF, SPF, SBPF, etc., whatever you call, the post layout netlist comes as like this. Can you spot the difference? Yes, the difference is here and here. So these are the parasitic resistors that have been added. I have not complicated the structure with parasitic capacitors, but they will be still there. So it is just to exemplify you. So you can see that, let me bring my mouse pointer. In such circuits, what happens when there is a post layout netlist, the SPAF is created. These nodes, this is a node, this is a node, this is a node. So such nodes will generate multiple subnodes. These subnodes will be connected to the parasitic resistor, capacitor, and coupling capacitors, because these are metal routes in actual practice, and there will be the coupling capacitor will show the neighboring effect. So here I think the picture speaks for itself, and this picture also. In ST only, the PF or SBPF is used as these contain the information about nets only, as cell delay are picked up from .lib. So just for your information, I have dumped all the formats of the parasitic files, but in case of STA, PF or SBPF, SBPF is the binary format. It cannot be read by human. PF is the text file, so it can be read by any human being. So either SPF or SBPF is used in STA. So these are not used, but just for your knowledge purpose, I have put it there. So we are done with this particular slide. Let's move on. Cell delay calculation. PF is for the net, and for the cells, the design, we have the .lib that will contain the delays. Now the delay modeling inside the .lib file is done using these three different ways. Here goes our cell delay modeling, which is done through the .lib characterization, and there are three different delay models are there. NLDM. NLDM means non-linear delay model. Here we use lookup table and interpolation method to find out the required delay. The next one is CCSM. CCSM means composite current source model. Here we use driver and receiver model to define the delays. The next one is ECSM, which means the effective current source model. This is the first and only open standard current source model which is well accepted in the industry. So we are done with this particular slide. So let's move on. Slew, rise and fall. In this particular slide, we will discuss about the most important element in STA, that is slew. We will take the help of an infographics to understand it properly. So here, this is our graphics. Now let me bring my mouse pointer. So here you can see the waveform is rising. Here it is flat, and then it is again decreasing. So I have intentionally kept the two inclination different, just to show you that in real life they may be different. And I have also exemplified the different kind of threshold, right? Here 10%, here 90%, here 20%, and 80%. So these kind of threshold, that is lower threshold, upper threshold. Again here it is upper threshold and lower threshold. So these type of various threshold values are kept in the industry and in different files as per the design, and many other factors are there controlling them. Now if we cut a waveform here at 10% and here at 90%, why we are cutting? The reason is that here this is not straight and then bends directly, because it is a capacitive action, so there will be a continuous bend, so we have to cut it somewhere. So just to get a flat inclination. Okay, this one. So this is called the rise slew. So here our threshold are 10% to 90%. Our rise slew is measured like that, and our fall slew, again here it will be capacitive action, and it will be a bending instead of a sharp bend. It will be a continuous bending, and to accommodate a direct slope here like this, we have to cut it at 80% and 20%. And here in the time axis we measure the fall slew like that. So this axis y, it is voltage, and this axis, this is time. So here we measure the rise slew, and here we measure the fall slew. So although I have hard coded the 10 and 90% and 80 and 20%, it is not the thumb rule that this is for rise and this is for fall. So any combination can come out. So both can have 80-20 values here, both can have 10-90 and 10-90 here, and they can be different, or 80-20 in the rise slew or 10-90 in the fall slew. So there could be multiple combinations. So don't just have this only picture, but try to understand the concept where these slews are meant. In STA, the rising or falling waveforms are measured in terms of whether the transition is slow or fast. So this slew means that how much fast the transition is, that is from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. The slew typically measured in terms of the transition time, that is the time it takes for a signal to transition between two specific levels, that is the 1 to 0 or 0 to 1. In the .lib file, the slew thresholds are defined in the particular fashion. Let us see an example. So falling edge threshold is defined as slew lower threshold PCT fall, that is then colon, then 20.0, and this line ends with the semicolon. Similarly, for slew upper threshold PCT fall, so this is fall slew. Let me bring my mouse pointer here. We are talking about fall slew, and this lower threshold is 20% and upper threshold is 80%. So here what we have depicted in the picture, the same thing you can read in text format in the .lib file. Now rising edge thresholds, slew lower threshold PCT rise. So here it is 10. So you can see here our threshold is, cut point is at 10%. Now slew upper threshold PCT rise is 90. So this is at the 90%. So this is the way of representation inside the .lib file, and this may similar commands may be there within the STA tool also. So they may be exact or they may be a bit different, but this is the way of representation of the slew cut point. So we are done with this slide. Let's move on. Rise slew versus delay from the .lib. In this slide, we will exemplify the lookup table for rise slew versus delay in NLDM model of .lib. Here you can visualize the 2D lookup table LUT from which the STA engine picks up the delay. In case an exact value of the index is not found, then the STA engine does the interpolation technique to find it out. Here the computational intelligence of STA engine can be observed. So let me bring up the details. Here we are using the NLDM model, so I have highlighted. So first there will be a template. Template means this is a kind of prototype where we define the shorthand of the things. Variable 1 total output net capacitance. Variable 2 is the input net transition. So this is the first one is generally the row variable, and the second variable is the column variable. Now index 1, so this is a 5 by 5, so we have defined 5 indexes here, and index 2 we have defined 5 indexes there, and we close the template. So this template will be way up in the .lib file, and the next table, which is the actual table, that may come inside a particular cell. So this particular LU table template is common for all, but the actual template or the actual data for each cell will be different, and that will be in the inside each cell's definition inside the .lib. So let us see such example also. Rise transition, this will be definitely inside a cell. Then delay template 5 by 5, so we have a 5 by 5 table here. Index 1, now you can see that index 1 has again 5 values, but they are different from the initial values. So these are actual values of the cell. So this overrides the initial template values. Index 2, which is the column index, and index 1 is the row index, again has a 5 different values than the template values. So this overrides the template values whichever earlier was defined. Now we start the table. This is our first row. Here goes our second row. Each has 5 candidates. Third row, fourth row and fifth row, and here we close it. Let me bring my mouse pointer in to make you understand the things. So here our first row index is there, 5 values is there, 1 2 3 4 5. So they will sit just above here, 1 2 3 4 5. You can do an imagination, and the column values are the 1 2 3 4 5. So they will be here 1 2 3 4 5. So if we have to pick the value for this combination, this and this combination, that will be the first one. And similarly, we can move ahead and find a value. It's like you find a point in XY graph, right? You move to some X values, then you have some Y values like Cartesian coordinate, which has a X and Y kind of thing. So this is very similar. This table is very similar to that kind of interpretation. And now the question is, if there is a value lying in between here, so index 1, so we have actual case, in actual simulation time, we have some values lying in between the first value and the second value, and there is another value which will be in between these and these values. So how to get that? The STI engine will use a numerical method called interpolation to find that value out, and it will find out. So these values are characterized keeping in mind that well extreme values, okay, so that it covers the entire spectrum. So there is an entire spectrum is covered here, and entire spectrum covers here. So anything will come in between all these values. So if it is on the point, so this point and this point, the STI engine will find out the exact value, so this one. And if it is there some intermediate value, so it will do the interpolation. Now the things are very much clear, that first the template is defined, it is way up in the .lib file, it is common for all the cells. But when we have a particular cell definition, we have a this kind of table. So the name is common here, delay template 5x5, delay template 5x5, and the case is here the rise transition. So we are done with this particular example or slide, and let's move on. False slew versus delay from the .lib. In this slide, we will describe the 2D lookup table, that is LUT, of false slew versus delay from the .lib file. This will engrave the 2D LUT concept totally into your mind. Let me bring up the text. So again, I am highlighting that we are using NLDM model here, and here the template begins, LU table template, delay template 5x5. So we have 5 rows and 5 columns. Variable 1 is the row variable, that is total output net capacitance. Variable 2 is the column variable, is the input net transition. So here the first set of indexes, these are initial values, and again these are 5 set of index values for index 2. And now just again I emphasize here, variable 1, the value variation is index 1, and for variable 2 the value variation is index 2 variation. Now we close the template here. In actual cell we will find the fault transition table, that is 2D LUT, which will be like that. The name is common, the delay template 5x5, and the name is fault transition. And here we will see that index 1 has its actual or local values, which is for that particular cell, and this will override whatever we have defined in the table template. Now again here we have the second index, that is column index, and here we also have 5 values, and here we start table. Here goes our first row, second row, third row, fourth row, and fifth row, and we close the entire block. So here again these values will sit here, 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 and here, and these values will sit here, 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 and here. So this is a kind of table that helps you to get the delay values, not you actually, the STI engine. So STI engine will calculate the delay values either from the fixed point values for the XY coordinate kind of stuff. It will find the exact value. If it doesn't find the exact value, it will do the interpolation. So guys, I think we are done example here, and now the 2D LUT concept has engraved into your mind. Now you know how STI engine picks up the cell delay values. So we are done with this slide. Let's move on. Thank you very much for watching up to this point, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you dislike something, put it down in the comments. Thank you, and bye for today.